Director of Community here for Diablo. Of course, I'm joined by two very familiar faces here. Mr. Joe Shelley, Game Director of Diablo IV. Mr. Joe Pipora, who is the Associate Game Director for Diablo IV. We have a
Joe?
quick stream to go over some stuff that's coming down the road here in the next couple weeks.
All right, let's hear it.
Which includes Abattoir Ther.
Yes.
And Midwinter Blight.
Yes.
So lots to talk about.
And itemization.
But what's kind of cool about this stream is that it is our final stream of the year, the final stream of 2023.
We're closing it out.
We're closing it out.
Okay,
and
so
this
no
is
more
actually,
streams this year.
It's been a year now since we started these streams. We started with Diablo IV developer updates on, was it mid-December last year, I believe. So we're hitting a 1-year anniversary now. And of course, on that debut stream, I had these two wonderful gentlemen who joined us as well. So yeah, we have it's been a year. It's crazy.
We've all grown so much.
I know. We went from hand models to holding maps and things like that to
that was fun.
Campfire chats, which we even brought to BlizzCon, which was actually really cool last month.
That was
and
fun.
Of course, now we're here to talk about Abattoir Ther.
All right, let's hear it.
But before we actually do jump into that,
okay, come on.
I know there is a very popular question within chat.
What is it?
And a very popular question within the community that we want to address before we jump in.
What is it?
Which is Diablo IV bringing pay for power to the game?
I saw this rumor.
No.
I saw this rumor.
We've been very clear about this throughout, and I think very consistent about it, and that continues to be true. And that also applies to things
No pay for
like,
power.
addressing stash, making sure that players have enough stash space to store things. We talked about this at BlizzCon. We talked about getting aspects out of your stash inventory. We had a stash tab in Season 2. We think that having enough space for a regular player to feel like they are good in terms of being able to store the things they need is baseline functionality.
Yes, definitely
and
is.
we have no plans to add any pay for power to the game.
Yeah, it's been a very popular question this week, and of course, we've been seeing it a lot in chat, even as we were in our countdown. We wanted to make sure we talked about it early with everyone to reassure people that no, that is
like
not
they
the
keep
plan
saying this,
for
and
Diablo
people keep
4.
saying, yeah, but pay for
players are
power.
still gonna
You're
be
gonna
able
do
enjoy
pay for
it
power.
without the need of needing to pay for.
They're not doing pay for power
or anything like that. So, and there won't be any of that in there. So. Great to hear, and I know that we have a lot to talk about today. The first thing we did want to mention, though, is actually Midwinter Blight, which is an event that is actually going to be coming up here on December 12th. It is our holiday event. It's actually our first holiday event. It's funny because people have asked us about, hey, what about Halloween? We kind of remind people that Season of Blood is kind of Halloween.
The game is kind of Halloween.
It's
got vampires. It's got skeletons. I mean, it's got all the same stuff you expect to get from a Halloween.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Midwinter Blight coming December 12th is our holiday event that we talked about and we announced at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk a little bit more about that today. Joe, can you give us a little bit more info? Joe P.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, Midwinter Blight, as I know that people got a chance to see some of the video stuff before, and we talked about it at BlizzCon, but Midwinter Blight is obviously our first true and proper holiday event where we're going to be Sanctuary in Diablo IV.
I like that they're doing those, by the way.
In it, we're going to be visiting the Fractured
Having a few
Peaks
a year
again,
would be good.
Where a horrible storm has descended upon the people of the has descended
Purple
upon the people of
Helltide.
the Fractured Peaks. Now we're going to be introduced to a new character named Gillian, who's a bard. Gillian is.
I wonder if
Helltide
will intersect with it, and that's weird. Helltide and Midwinter
push back against a new
That'd be really
threat
cool.
that's emerging from the hills and mountains nearby, coming down from the glacier and down from the mountainous peaks nearby.
So, Joe, can I trust this guy though? Because I don't have a good track record with musicians in Diablo 4.
I think that anyone that plays music in the Fractured Peaks is generally trustworthy.
Okay.
So I think that you're going to be.
He's looking a little sketch there.
I don't know. I trusted all those folks in the vest.
I don't think that's fair to those of us who boast to have nice facial hair. I think that Gillian is a perfectly trustworthy person.
Wolverine.
So, with that in mind, so Gillian's there trying to rouse people together, and they're going to be sending the heroes of Sanctuary off into the Fractured Peaks to fight against this new threat, the Red Cloak Horror and his minions. We're out there kind of causing great mayhem. They're kind of erecting these disgusting snow sculptures out of discarded parts throughout the environment. Yeah, here is a a group of the Red Cloak Horror's minions just kind of like running around. They're
basically
very
existing mobs that are purple
but
now.
But they're also fun. They're kind of like they're
Purpley
having a
blue.
good time with it. Like they're enjoying the season. They're in it for the spirit of it, which is just basically causing a lot of mayhem and destruction and pain for the people. So you get a chance to feel a little bit of that as you're going through the.
He looks cool.
Here is our main boy, the Red Cloak Horror himself.
I like him.
This is going to be your opportunity to go and fight this boss. Will occasionally pop into the content. You'll get good rewards from him as you're kind of progressing through the event, and you will take all of these like trophies
hopefully something cool and special
from all of his minions, and kind of as you're engaging in various events and saving people in Sanctuary, able to bring these back to Kyovashad, be able to unlock some really cool cosmetics.
Awesome, yeah, and I know there's even a few like kind of exclusive things for the beyond the cosmetics for this event, such as we have an elixir, for instance. That
and it looks cool. I like this little lamb leg or goat leg that was down there. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. There's an elixir that grants 10%.
That's kind of cool looking.
When you're drinking it. It also gives you other effects when you're active inside the Fractured Peaks, but you can also just use it for the XP if you want.
And I will note the XP actually does work even outside of Fractured Peaks. So it's like, hey, it's an extra bonus for players if they're looking to grab a little bit of extra experience. And then there is also, for this event, a new like offensive aspect.
Yeah, there's a new seasonal aspect you get to play with. It kind of like dovetails with some of the new shrines and things that we have throughout the environment. So there's a lot of fun stuff for players to engage with throughout the season. And then again, a lot of really cool cosmetics to collect.
Yeah, so it's a lot of cool stuff coming in Midwinter Blight.
And these the things.
So special aspect in new shrines.
Like the elixirs and the aspects persist after Midwinter Blight ends, and they do, right?
Yep.
They do. Yeah, they will persist after the event ends, but you'll only be able to collect them now during this period of time.
Exactly.
Interesting. So, I wonder what this aspect is.
Stock up for the elixirs themselves, and of course, Midwinter Blight is on December 12th. So make sure to log in.
That sounds cool.
It'll be running through the holidays for players to actually jump in and check out from that end. But the next other big thing,
that's like 2 weeks away.
Exactly.
What's happening?
Zier!
Yeah, what's happening next week? So we're actually going to go back to the week prior to December 12th, and on December 5th.
As you would naturally do. You naturally work out 2 weeks, then come back a week as you're talking through things. Yeah.
Organization. But yeah, we're actually going to move to December 5th, which will be the Abattoir of Ther. This is a new Endgame.
All right, what are they going to tell us about?
Actually adding to Diablo IV. It's for a limited time only. It's a seasonal event specifically that we announced at BlizzCon. And we are actually, for the first time on one of our streams, we're going to have a live run through of the Abattoir of Ther, starring. You won't be able to see this wonderful man on camera, but he is mic'd up because we wanted to hear him struggle. That is Filthy Rich. He's actually a senior community manager on the community team here on Diablo. You may have recognized his name on our forums, posting patch notes, hotfix notes, etc. Rich is amazing. And he is actually going to be showcasing a little bit of Abattoir.
Okay, we've got a Sork.
Okay.
Right off
you can pet the dog in Diablo 4.
When we practiced this, the dog wasn't there.
in case it wasn't clear, that is still a feature that exists in the game.
Yeah.
Say hi, Rich.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. There's a spin of friendship. Okay, so
The spin of
Yeah, it's
friendship.
funny. It's like last stream of the year, and we're doing it live. This is fun.
Now, and when we say live, we're talking about this is a live, like he's playing for real right now.
Yes.
That is what I was referencing, but I wasn't clear. That's true.
But it is on a dev server.
Yep.
So we won't run into other players, and it is on a dev build. So there might be some debug text or
unless
other
the dev
stuff.
just happens to run it through, who's also on this.
Could
server,
happen.
But
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you might see some weird stuff, folks. And if people,
I'm fearful we just sent out this megaphone to the team and also running over the Rich.
Well,
Somebody's going to like
this is the first time we've done
/kill
something.
command
that's
him.
absolutely right. And if you complain about it, we just won't do it again. And wouldn't you rather just see really cool stuff? I bet you would. So let's see.
All right.
All right.
Abattoir
Rich,
here.
what build are you going to be running here for us today?
Yeah, so on my side, I'm actually going to be running a popular build, the Ball Lightning build.
Ball Lightning build. Okay.
I'm going to wait
let's see
for
it.
Joe to kind of explain some of the earlier stuffs, basically a lot of the gameplay loop stuff. But pretty familiar for those who've been watching A lot of the endgame
Just
material
base
for
the
ball
most
lightning,
overpowered build this
specifically
season
for this, I'm really
overall.
focused around like survivability, mobility, with a sprinkle of DPS. But I think before we get into
With a
it,
sprinkle.
sprinkle.
Yeah,
Yes,
ball
yes.
lightning
You talk
known
about ball
for
lightning.
it's low damage output capacity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Rich here. So let's say we're talking about the Abattoirs here. I know we talked about this before, but for the uninitiated, this could be a new endgame dungeon content experience for players to engage with that really unlocks after you finish the season journey of season 2. So if you really want to go and start going through this content, you'll need to have done all the things
Okay,
this
so you
season
craft
beforehand
sigils.
to be able to gain access to the very
You access
first,
it like a nightmare dungeon.
Blood-forged sigil. You're able to craft here at the Occultist. Now, once you've
And
taken this sigil,
you
this is gonna
craft a
open up
specific
new
tier
dungeon
that you wanna
space
do.
It's going to be more challenging than a tier 100 nightmare dungeon.
I didn't see which
Now,
one
there
did he
are
craft.
25 tiers of the Abattoirs here for players to engage with. And each of these does get progressively much more challenging as you step up.
Let me see it.
Much more
Which one
challenging
is
than,
it?
say, going from like a
One.
tier,
It's a tier 1.
75 nightmare dungeon to a tier 76 nightmare dungeon.
Okay,
going
let's
from
see
a
it.
tier 1 to a tier 2 to a tier 3. These are really significant steps by comparison. So, and we want this because like we're giving like season 2's been a lot of fun. Like I'm having a lot of fun.
It
playing
opens
my
it up
Firewall
right
Sork
there
now.
in
It is
K-Shad.
It is there's we
that's in
want to make sure that
K-Bar
there's a
too.
really good place for players to be able to bring all of this power they've been collecting from like whether they're farming Duriel for Uber Uniques or just have they get a really great combination of vampiric powers. When I have a place where they can go to like to really show off and like really push hard into a type of content. That's the focus here.
Yeah, and we mentioned you mentioned just now that the Abattoir requires that you've completed the season journey,
Yes.
right? And so the season journey, the last step of the season journey requires you can skip two of the objectives, but there's still difficult objectives like kill Duriel, even if you skip like Echo.
I'll have to see if I've done them all.
The tier 90 nightmare dungeon requirement.
Oh, wow.
And that's not arbitrary. That's because characters who aren't able to do that really are not ready for Abattoir Zero. So
Yep.
I know there are a lot of folks who are level 100 out there who maybe haven't completed this yet. We've got this weekend coming up.
Yes.
So get your
Yeah, we're gonna have to really crank this
Exactly,
thing.
and if players still haven't completed it by this weekend or when Abattoir's Year actually hits, they can still complete it anytime when the seasonal event is actually going
course,
on
yeah.
and jump in even afterwards. So if you've got plans this weekend or something like that and can't finish it, don't worry, it's okay. You can still do that over the next couple of weeks because this event will be going through January or the beginning of January itself.
Right.
So
You still have time.
you still have time. So I know Rich here has actually, as we were talking, spawned a level 1 Abattoir using the sigils himself right there. So I think this is a good opportunity for him to kind of jump in.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, so Rich has done a little of this content on his character here already. So he's got a little bit of a preview of how it's going to play, how it's going to feel to play through. But I think it's going to be pretty fun. Let's see how he performs.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I did want to address on that I saw from chat is that character that I have is as close as I can be to being maxed out. Because this is trying to be as relatively close to what
so
I've been practicing
level
on, which
155.
has been the tier level 100 nightmare dungeons.
Which ball
And
lightning
I
is
think there's
taking a
few
little
things
bit of
that I
time
wanted
to
call
kill.
out as well. On the actual sigil itself, I think one difference here is that I'm not aware of what afflictions I'm going to encounter in this battle. So I think capping things or getting as close to as capped I can for things like my armor, my magic resist, my damage, and all those. Just really trying to be ready and prepared for any surprises.
Yeah, I know, Rich.
Okay.
Because you've played through Abattoir a little bit, you've built a little bit more survival on your Sork here, as opposed to completely glass cannon. He's a little bit more prepared than I think some other people would be. But I know with us showcasing here a level 1 Abattoir, kind of at least showcases a little bit. How would you guys compare this to a nightmare dungeon in terms of tier difficulty, or would it be similar to a nightmare dungeon in terms of tier with a level 1?
Yeah, the level 1 Abattoir of Zir is kind of close to what a level 104 might be. That's kind of where things start, and then things step up from there. Now, you'll see here right off the bat, there's some big differences, right? On the right-hand side, you see that there's a bar that's being filled. Abattoir of Zir runs are
Slay
really
monsters
races
before
against
time runs out to
so
summon.
Rich here is really focused on killing creatures as fast as he can in an effort to kind of beat that timer and summon the boss at the end of the experience.
Okay.
You know, loot's not dropping for him as he's kind of rolling through this thing. We don't want to slow you down. We want to keep you killing as fast as you can to show off.
So you see the little like clock on the bar with a red line. That's the time.
As we step
and
up,
the orange is him filling the bar.
What's interesting about this is, you know, we actually taking one step back actually. Some of the things that Joe's talked about when we were at the at BlizzCon.
You see lives remaining 0. You can't die.
In-game content and itemization rewards and things. The things we want to do to make the game, continue to make the game better. Abattoir of Zir is like it's designed explicitly to appeal to players who are at this stage of the gameplay experience, and we're going to be using it to kind of like think about and iterate upon more features like this we want to bring out in the future. That's one of the reasons why it's a seasonal event. You know, it's a fun experience for season 2. But we'll have slightly different ideas in the future of how we want to kind of create similar content.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So it might be fun to do in groups too. I wonder if it changes the how much
by the way, Rich
you need to kill.
Has been so lucky with shrines every single time we've watched him go through.
Yeah,
he like consistently gets artillery shrines, which I'm just gonna claim like I don't know, community manager.
Community manager RNG. Yes.
Yeah. I think part of it.
You know, I'm going to be 100% honest with everyone here and those watching. I went super tanky because I think one of the nightmares that I would have is actually to die in the middle of a demo.
We'll make that happen. I promise. But I know with level 1, as you can see, Rich is like well ahead of time, so he's clearly geared up.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good
and ready for a level 1.
So we're gonna see the abattoir.
At the end of these abattoirs, we'll see here in a second as he gets to time.
Come on, Zir.
We do have a little bit of a kind of an end period for players, a little bit more of a challenge towards the end.
Yeah. So and one thing that's making this particularly interesting is with the vampire powers in season 2, with Rich running Metamorphosis regularly, he's basically got like permanent unstoppable. You know, as he's just kind of like using Flicker Step to keep resetting that unstable currents, and he is just keeping that 4-second unstoppable uptime. And you summon the boss. That was spicy right off the bat. So every time you manage to clear one of these levels, you're going to summon 3 Bloodseekers, who are pretty strong. We're going to have the
he almost died. You see that?
You're going to have to go ahead and clear through. The timer is still ticking, but Rich has got a really good, healthy lead on the timer right now, so I don't think that's going to be a problem.
He came close
again.
It's
a question of whether or not he gets spiked by something he didn't expect. But with the amount of barrier you should be able to pack with your sword at this point, I don't think that should be a problem.
I don't know.
This is a unfavorable
he's
spot.
very
I don't like this spot.
You're in some tight corners.
I think in every single practice this has happened, but what I'm feeling lucky about is that I don't have a suppressor, which is definitely a nightmare for me in my ball lightning. But
so that's it.
I'll pass it back over to you because there's actually some pretty cool stuff.
So you don't actually fight Zir?
Over here.
Yeah. So upon finishing your first run through the Abattoir of Zir, you're going to earn the special glyph associated with the seasonal event, which is the Tears of Blood glyph.
Okay.
You can see here now. Rich has already spent some XP on this, upgrading it before. But this is an extraordinarily powerful multiplicative
Wait, he's not running any other higher level Paragon glyphs.
This has got 200
he doesn't have any Paragon
for you to upgrade through in the course of time. It starts out at the size of a tier 15 normal glyph, normal rare
They always
glyph.
show up at the top.
So it is extremely strong right off the bat. So you're going to be able to use this to kind of help you get through some of the more difficult tiers as you go deeper and deeper into the experience. And there's one other really neat thing about this as well. So this experience, the Tears of Blood glyph itself has like a lot of Paragon glyph XP that you
glyphs
need
on his
in order to
character
upgrade it as you continue to like go on through the experience. And one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that if you're at this stage, if you want to experiment with other glyphs, you can still you get giant amounts of XP from finishing Abattoir of Zir level.
From tier 1, it's all 1,000 XP.
From a tier 1, you get 1,000. So if you want to use this as an opportunity to kind of like rank up some of those other glyphs you've got because you want to play with other things.
Do this to power level your glyphs.
Here's an opportunity for you to kind of like go and quickly like level up a bunch of those other glyphs that you have, in addition to not taking too much time away from your Tears of the Blood if you're trying to like keep pace with that. But we think that's like an extra fun little bit. But yeah, Tears of Blood glyph, super powerful for players to be able to engage with. Again, it's only here for the season, and it'll be retired at the end of that season.
Yeah, and like we just saw Rich, of course, churn through a level 1.
So basically, it's like a race against the timer.
Struggled a little at the end, but
it was a little struggle.
Bloodseekers come at you at the end, 3 of them.
I know, Rich. What key or what?
If you die, you lose.
So I think what I did over there was a sigil 1. I think what we were talking about was trying to make like an engagement moment. basically by having chat almost pick the challenge ahead. So what I've pre-crafted beforehand is a 2, a 6, as well as a 10. Funny enough, I created backups for this because like, hey, I might die. But I think it's just one of those things where I would love to reserve the
where's
10
the
and beyond
25
levels, for a later moment.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Do the
Adam, you had a great
25.
idea.
And as a
hopping in
reminder,
chat.
like tiers for Abattoirs here go up to 25.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there are a significant amount of tiers, and they of course go up in difficulty by a pretty like almost an exponential amount as you're going from tier to tier. But be curious. Okay, all right. Like you already asked the chat, and the chat is already going like screaming 10.
Yeah.
So they just want you to die.
Okay, we said like we're gonna let chat choose 2, 6, or 10. We'll see what they say. I'm like, it's gonna be 10. They're gonna absolutely want to see.
They're
Chats
gonna want us to
always
be
want
10.
you to die.
So,
That's the
Rich,
point of a
take
chat.
us into a
Let's do it.
tier 10, and
Yes.
let's see how he does. Now, are you gonna
You got
adjust builds a little bit
You have
here?
4
Well, so-
potions too. I just want to call.
He
you
doesn't
out.
have any
a few
Paragon
things
glyphs
here,
on
I
right
think,
now.
For the players at home is that obviously you saw that the previous one I was geared up to be a little bit more tanky because the last thing that I want to do is embarrass myself and die on there. But I think what Joe and team can do is also explain like how some of the scaling works as I go up. So I think I'll just go in. I think what I'm trying to balance out now is just try to add a little bit more damage output by sacrificing some of my tankiness. Just because I anticipate that the higher HP is going to be a challenge, and I don't want to lose to the time.
So these
and I
guys-
actually want to see how far I can progress. So let me activate this.
Will
system.
they
I was like,
be
he went
like
back in.
165?
Without acting.
Yeah,
the nerves. It's the nerves.
Yeah, to Rich's point here. I mean, it's not easy to play games on stream, right?
No, it's not.
No, so this is why we're gonna have him
No, it's
narrate
very hard. So hard.
a full Romeo and Juliet play to us as he's playing
Yeah.
to ensure
Full color commentary.
full concentration on this.
No, so to Rich's point earlier about how the scaling works. So as we were experimenting
cool.
with this content, one of the things we discovered pretty quickly is we just didn't want to
It's not
continue
the
to
same
scale
dungeon every
monster
time.
damage up, in a really significant way as you're kind of going through this content. We really want to focus a lot more on monster health scaling as you go.
Okay.
Because we quickly get to a point where like any bat that kind of like clips you, which is basically just completely ice you unless you're invulnerable at that point. And
Yeah.
it just makes it a less fun experience overall.
This
so
is
we want to
good.
make sure it was much more about like can
Because
you
this
beat
is
that
where
timer? Can you
my
survive the bosses at the end?
character
Not as
excels,
much about
is, like,
damage gets
packs
so,
of damage
so
like that.
high over the course of time that there's just no opportunity for different classes to really be able to perform, right?
They're
Yeah,
157.
and the Tears of Blood glyph really is going to increase your damage output.
Yes.
All right, so leveling that up. is
Did
gonna
you
really-
actually have your Tears for Blood glyph equipped?
Oh, is it equipped?
So I did not, and I think one of the things that I wanted
Well
to
then.
do, I mean, for me, I think as I've been going in and testing it, like I think it's actually been a pretty cool experience to see like how it's been with and without. I think just
Ooh, that pack's gonna.
exploring a little bit more into it as well. Like while my Paragon board is optimized for
I
what
hate
I have
those
here,
guys.
it's definitely opening up a lot
No,
more.
he's-
Hold on a second. Can you-
Also, you didn't replenish your
No, he
potions
didn't.
before you
I
went
tried
in
to
here.
warn him.
So
It's about. This is for the stream.
mistakes were made.
This
is
for the-
this is for the stream.
mistakes
Oh, I
were
see. You're
made.
trying
is
to
for
give
the
yourself a
street.
disadvantage.
It's not for the street.
clicks.
He
I see.
effed
This
up.
is for the stream.
We got more max potions.
Yeah.
He doesn't
true.
have
So,
any, but he doesn't have any
Rich
Paragon
did not do
glyphs
himself
on,
a few
from what I
favors
could
here.
tell.
One, he did not replenish his potions, and then two, he did not equip a Tears for Blood glyph.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you are
because-
falling behind that timer pretty
Yeah,
quickly at this
because
point.
he wanted to.
Yeah,
be a
he's
show-off and
he's
is
regretting life
not
decisions right now.
Showing off.
Well, it's interesting to see how valuable. You were talking about this earlier. How valuable the vampiric powers are in this content as well.
Yeah.
Really configuring those.
Yeah, I mean, if you're permanently unstoppable, like Snake Family is a lot less dangerous to deal with across the board. Like you don't have to deal with that charging stun. You don't have to deal
Yeah.
with you don't have to deal with the paralyzed.
He's only
like,
got
there's
one
you got
potion
some
left.
advantages. I think it's funny that we got snakes randomly twice in a row.
Yeah.
But hey, that's the nature of live gameplay.
And I will
It's
say.
not just snakes though. You can see other things in this.
We're
Right.
nearing
Yeah,
the
that's a
end,
great point.
by the way.
Each time you enter Abattoir of Zir, you're going to have different monsters, different tile sets, different layouts.
And I think the big thing here is that my eye is definitely drawn into the timer compared to how it was in the tier 1. I'm definitely not taking out as many monsters as I need to get the potions and
Yeah,
And-
he
and
has
he has
no
is really
potions
hurting
left,
my
so here
feelings
comes death.
that and
Everything seems
I
fine
will
here.
say like the normal progression for players will be.
And he's dead.
Oh my gosh.
So watch when he goes to his Paragon here. I'm assuming he's going to put it
The
on
story of Rich.
if they show it.
West.
I will say that the normal progression for players is not to go immediately to a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Chat deemed that you needed to go to a 10 immediately.
Yeah.
And Rich deemed that he did not need to actually equip his Tears of Blood glyph.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But this takes us to an interesting point. What happens when you die in it?
Yeah, so when you die in the video game, you die in the video game. So actually, you're going to lose your run because you have no respawns available when you go through a Abattoir of 0.
So like
run.
for those
You
that
have
like
to go
want
back,
to
you
more
have
a
to
little
make
bit
another
more
queue.
casually
That
do
part
it,
is gonna
especially
be
to like
lost.
power level glyphs and
And,
stuff.
yeah, so
Group
just
play is going to be
word for
very
warning
helpful.
for like even like a double, like I guess penalty for hardcore players.
hardcore
Like
players,
yeah,
yeah.
lose your character and you lose
lose your
you
run.
lose your
you're right.
your run.
Huge double penalty. Huge double
one
penalty.
major penalty and one small one.
You're going to
So,
see a
yeah.
lot of those hardcore players. They're going to die.
I
in
do want to
this.
just follow up on the mention earlier what happens at the very end. I think the trying to return back to
or
the
at least use
adventure,
the like
but
cheap
Yeah,
death
this is
surprised
potion.
by this is something that we wanted to call out as
Which
well.
one did he do?
Yeah, so like basically, if the portal's gonna be there while the event is active, but unless you've actually used a sigil to kick it off, you're basically just gonna be able to come to this like kind of broken edifice here, and there's nothing, nowhere else to go.
I'd be curious, like if you are in here with like a party, can you revive other party members? As,
Yeah, I'm sure. Right?
If they happen to die.
When a player goes down, the run is over.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wait, what?
There we go. So I know there's a few people.
One
asking
player
questions
goes
like, hey,
down, the
when
run
this is a
ends.
group, If anyone dies there, it's a done run.
Interesting.
So it is a little punishing.
mean, it makes
but At the
sense.
same time, it is endgame content. that
Absolutely.
you-
Well, I mean, sure. I mean, so
Nobody
so,
wants to be that guy.
One of the things really interesting about having content like this at the end games, we do want to make sure that there are lots of ways, as you've seen in Season 2, to like farm up different gear that you want and make sure that you can get your characters to be really, really powerful. But then when you get into the next tier of content, like, do we want you to continually always get more gear to always replace the gear that you have, right? So the Tears of Blood glyph is an example of us like kind of experimenting with different ideas of progression for players and see how these things feel.
Yeah, having to like replace
that's
everything
we
all
wanna
the
make sure that there's
time
always more things
infinitely
you want to go try
is
and
annoying.
do, and always more things for you to go push for your
But
character.
having like one thing
but how much you have to like
here,
reintegrate
and then
you know,
one thing there
aspects of your
would feel good.
your build every time you like kind of go through a content tier feels like something we talk about quite a bit.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm really excited about for this is so Tears of Blood is gonna be like really, really powerful. Again, 200 tiers, multiplicative damage increases. It continues to scale up as you go. It's very, very strong. It's gonna be fun to see players who are able to see how far people can eschew that, like not use the Tears of Blood glyph, and see how far they're able to actually get into the content. So I think that's gonna be very, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm hoping players end up, sending us tweets on social or sorry, it's not tweets anymore. X posts.
Yeah, posts and reposts.
It's a tweet.
On
Call it a tweet.
social, or posting on Reddit and forums
It's
of
a
like how
tweet.
far they can actually progress. It'll be really cool to see where the community kind of lands and where some of our more hardcore players end up landing as well. Especially hardcore characters, people that really risk everything
Yeah.
to try out this content. So there we go. So that's Abattoir Zero. Abattoir Zero again hits on December 5th. It'll be with our next patch.
Next week.
And and that will be next week. We actually
are they
plan on
gonna
having
talk
patch
about
notes available
itemization?
on
Or is that a lie?
Diablo4.com tomorrow. So it will be available for people to check out patch notes for that update hitting next week. So thank you again, Rich.
Yeah, thanks, Rich.
Really appreciate it. Thank you for sacrificing your
Rich, you should have equipped some of your
which is
glyphs.
nearly the same as your live build. I know.
Yes. This build I wanted to make as close as I can to in terms of a 1-to-1 representation of what I have on retail. I
Or if
know
he did
for a
have
lot
them
of people
equipped,
at home,
he didn't
want to
have any
try
of
to
them leveled
have
up.
and see and play with something that's relevant to them. So yeah, just tried to do that. Excited to see everybody online. Let's farm up. Let's do this. See how high you can get.
Get your season journey done.
Yeah.
Because that is the requirement for jumping into Abattoir Zero and checking it out. Cool. So I know one thing that we do want to talk about as well that we had mentioned on social, and this is just a quick mention from us and a quick update from us, and it is around itemization.
Okay. What is it?
One thing we do want to show off, though, is we all have, well, I'm not zipped up. I'm wearing my Diablo IV bomber here. Oops. There we go. But
Doing some extra hand
But
modeling.
yeah, we do have these really fancy little shirts here.
Gee, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like you guys even remember the cue.
I remember.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah.
Damage of
This is a playoff
Tuesday.
of,
Damage on Tuesdays.
Adam Jackson.
It's funny that they're making
made
fun of
this
themselves.
wonderful
I like
saying
that.
Before, damage on Tuesdays.
Damage on Tuesdays.
And yeah,
It felt appropriate for discussing
we
itemization.
felt like this was an appropriate time to show off.
We're like,
these
we're gonna take.
jackets
Well, what we'll do is
specifically.
we'll take the jackets off while Rich is playing. We won't forget to do that.
We were supposed to do that.
We were supposed to do that to have this be like a
That
better
would've been
bit.
So
plan.
instead,
That would've been a
everyone just got
funnier
to watch us awkwardly take off hoodies and jackets. So, but yes,
I think the people loved it, obviously.
yes, and I do want
That's a
to
cool
I do
shirt.
want to
I
give
like it.
a shout out to Ricky on our art team.
Richie, yeah.
Sorry, not Richie on our art team, who actually ended up making these amazing damage.
Yeah,
on
I love
Tuesday
the
shirts.
graphic design on this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
really
Little rogue shooting through Tuesday.
Yeah.
But itemization, I know we wanted to talk really quickly about that, and Joe.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot to talk about. At BlizzCon, Mr. Shelley himself got a chance to kind of talk about a few things that we've got coming. We have going on. We talked about some of the problems that we see with itemization out there today. I think just to kind of reiterate some of those.
Announce a
points,
filter. Do it.
as players are going through the experience,
Do it.
it is it's challenging the amount of mental
Announce a filter.
bandwidth you have to use to process all of the items that you're collecting. It's difficult to find upgrades because there's a really low chance for you to get like a perfect rare roll. And generally in ARPGs, it's okay for it to be a low chance for the roll to be perfect, but there's such a high degree of variability in items right now as
Yes.
they stand, where it's like usually it's like, okay, well, this item is 80% of what I want it to be, and that can feel okay to find that pretty regularly, but that could be kind of hard to find right now in Diablo IV, right? And feels almost virtually impossible. You can go through 200
Loot
pairs of gloves
filter.
and not find a perfect pair of gloves, for your class. There's a lot of things that contribute to this. There's the number of different affixes that we have.
Tons of
There is
affixes.
the fact that we don't have a lot of things in place that say like you can't have like multiple skill ranks, on an item. Like right now we allow you to have like 3 different plus core skill ranks on an item occasionally, and that doesn't really serve anybody. So one of the things we want to think about a lot
Depends
as
on what
we're,
it is.
as we're looking towards
Passives, it's
2024,
good.
it's like it's December, we're looking back at a year of talking together and trying to paint a picture of like what we want moving forward for us. We want to be thinking more about like we have plans for solving these kinds of problems. We also see that there's not enough like runway with items either. Like there's a lot more they could be doing for the player when they drop for players. So one of the things we want to think about more as we get into 2024 is having items really be kind of like the start of a journey. So when something drops for you as a player, we want that to be like cool. You want to be able to get this and say, this is awesome. I can't wait to do X, Y, and Z to this and make it like
Yes.
really, really great.
Yes.
Right? Like this is the perfect thing that I need for my build. And to feel that you've got more chances like
You
to
only get a
modify and
little bit of
customize
that with
and
the,
really
enchanting.
incorporate that into what you want for your particular playstyle. That's important for like
And
player
adding, like,
expression,
the
for build
aspect
making.
on it that you want.
It does a lot for just making the game more exciting versus like every single time you're looking for an upgrade, it's only whatever immediately drops in the ground, and I kind of have to make a decision based on that. We want to go a lot further than that, I think, in the future for players. Now, these are the sorts of things I'm talking about are pretty big, right? Like in season 2, we made changes to the resistance system. We made changes like vulnerable damage being multiplicative, making that additive. We made it. I think people that saw we made a huge number of changes to the way that stats work and skills and a bunch of other stuff, right? Huge number of changes, and the reason why we did so much of it at once was because many of these things were very interconnected.
Yeah.
And trying to improve these systems by doing like one small portion of it can actually make everything worse, because this is now like almost like a little island of a different idea that's floating out and not integrated properly into everything else in the game, right? So as we think about the sorts of itemization changes we're looking to make, the reward changes we want to make things more exciting for players to chase, and really, again, if Diablo is a game about killing monsters and getting loot, then killing monsters feels pretty good right now. I think that getting loot has places where we can make improvements. We need to make sure that's holding up its end of the bargain, right? But to make the sorts of changes that we're talking about, there's basically a number of other things that are going to need to be adjusted
he's
at the same
saying
time. So
it's
we
going
have
to take us a
plans
lot
for
longer than you
really,
guys
really
want us to
big
take
update.
it. to do.
For itemization that we want to be able to produce. It's not coming in season 3. We're looking at season 4.
Okay.
We want to be able to target
Tell
a
us
lot of these
what you're
changes to
thinking
come
of
out kind
doing.
en masse.
Tell us what you're thinking
in
of
season
doing.
3, which we're not talking about today. We're not talking about season 3 today. But there's still cool stuff that we have coming up. Which we'll tell. I guess we'll talk. Well, yeah, sure. Right. We're about to talk like a tiny bit about season 3. There's still lots of great feedback that we're getting from players about their experience playing.
So this is what kills me.
Yeah.
You kind of have an idea of what you're going to do.
Yes.
Just tell us, like, hey, for season 4, we're thinking of adding a loot filter.
To incorporate into season 3.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that we've seen with season 2, right, is this was you were talking about how we made a lot of changes to itemization. We made a lot of changes to builds.
Yeah.
There were some things that got less powerful, but we really sort of I think we did a great job delivering on some of the stuff we talked about back in season 1 in terms of making when we make changes to stats or classes or itemization, that we make sure that we're adding lots of new cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think we plan to continue to do that with season 3, right? So, I think we've talked. I've said on social, like, hey, we're not gonna nerf your builds here throughout season 2. We were just playing Ball Lightning, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just live here, and we think that's really important because we built Abattoir of Ther based on the balance of the game as it stands in season 2. But then as you get into season 2, you can season 3. No one's going to say any of the right season numbers today. But as you get into season 3, you can expect to see some of those balance changes, kind of like what we saw in season 2, right?
That's right. So we'll change along those lines. We'll be able to talk about those as we get a little bit closer to the season 3 release date. And there's a bunch of other changes we're making in season.
Well, there's the one thing about, I know you were talking about with itemization. We're prepping a lot of changes, and we've actually we have talked to at least a group of Diablo partners, content creators already about some of the itemization changes that are going to be coming in
talk to
season
me.
4.
That's right.
So they have actually. There are people aware of some of the details and changes that we're actually offering. So and we're doing that mostly for we wanted to get some feedback from and bounce like some ideas that we actually had. So we're really looking forward to actually going through all of that and making sure and refining it a little bit before
tell us what's
we actually
going on.
put it out in front of everyone. And so there will be more news about itemization as we go through season 3 and into season 4. Obviously, with the big changes that are going to be coming, but we have been actually talking with a select group of people, with our Diablo partners, our content creators, specifically on that. So, and I wanted to make sure like people weren't thinking we're working within like a box or something like that from that end.
Yeah, like Joe said at BlizzCon, like if endgame content is one of our highest priorities, itemization is our highest priority, right? Like we're actively working on these things. It's just they take time because they're expansive. And it's going to be better for the game, bringing these things together into one big release. We're very, very excited about it.
They definitely need to get aspects out of the stash.
Plans and getting some of that initial feedback.
They need a loot filter.
We're in motion. We're working through these things right now.
I think a local stash and a shared stash
that's not all.
Would be
right?
good.
Like, as we look towards season 3 and talk about like the sorts of things that players are having some difficulties with right now, there's a couple things that got brought up. First is Forgotten Souls.
Yes.
It's very annoying.
Obviously, we see the players are having a tougher time getting Forgotten Souls in Diablo IV in season 2, relative to other points in time. One of the things that we're doing based upon that feedback and feedback about Helltide is actually
we don't want to feel like we have to do every Helltide.
So basically, Helltide's going to be up every hour for about 55 minutes. It's going to be like a 5-minute break, and then it's going to come back up again.
We don't want to do more Helltides.
It's going to make it a lot easier for you to farm those Forgotten Souls up.
No, we don't want to do more Helltides.
Yeah, we really saw that it worked well with Blood Harvest, and it's something we wanted to bring over to Helltide.
That's because Blood Harvest is fun.
From Blood Harvest.
They got the wrong thing. That's not the right way to do it.
This was one that we thought was really important to get into.
And this is just part of like the things we learn through seasons that players really enjoy, and it helps us make the game better. There's even like the idea.
I see their chats popping off saying this is a big W. I don't think so, man.
Powers kind of back in those unique rings that we announced at BlizzCon, and
Helltides feel like a chore.
Blood Harvest has taught us a lot about players' expectations.
They're not as fun as the Blood Harvest.
Looking for when it comes to like things like Helltide as well. So it's just some of these learnings that we continuously apply to the game, which has been really great.
You got to make it more fun.
I want to talk about another thing that we saw in season 2. That I've sort of been talking about as the 925 problem.
Oh, sure.
Basically, when you first get access to World Tier 4, you can start getting the highest eye power loot immediately from world bosses and from Duriel if someone carries you through Duriel. And that Duriel totally makes sense. It's a super hard encounter. It's a farming encounter, right? It's level 100. The world bosses probably shouldn't have a guaranteed chance to drop 925 now because we hate having players have good loot, just because, when I was playing through it, I was, 72, and all my gear was 925 at that point. And I felt like, where am I going to go from here? Now, it wasn't all, I had a bunch of garbage affixes, right, like Joe was talking about. But there's another part of this problem, which is that as you get up toward close to 100 and reach 100, it feels like there isn't enough variety in places where you can get 925 gear reliably. Like it can drop from Varshan, but it's a very small chance. It can drop from stuff like Beast and Ice. And so it feels like, things like turning in Obols, turning in Whispers, doing some of those other ladder bosses, and even in some cases, some of the Nightmare Dungeon content. It feels, it can feel like, well, I guess I'm just supposed to do Duriel and maybe do the world bosses when they come up.
It's not consistent enough from other sources that aren't Duriel and aren't the world bosses. So we love that you want to go farm Duriel for urban uniques and for unique items. We like the idea that you want to go hit world boss when it's up, and that's fun. But it doesn't feel good if those are the only two ways for you to really adequately find this kind of these kinds of rewards. So there's gonna be a balance there. We're gonna be certainly evaluating that to make sure that it feels like it's a little easier to find 925s in other top eye power items. In other
Nightmare Dungeon bosses would be a good place.
Yeah,
for
so
them
we
to be
have
more likely.
some changes coming with Season 3 to
Legion
based off of
events.
feedback that we've gotten from players with Season 2, things around Helltide, things around
They could put them in those things too.
The eye level 925 items specifically. So, but yeah, great to hear. Lots of changes coming up, and of course, Season 4 we have some big changes for itemization that are along the road. So. I know we want to jump into Q&A now because, and this is an opportunity for people in chat to kind of jump in and ask their
I'm so
questions.
sorry, Adam, for ruining this transition. So I guess one last thing on itemization. So part of all of this is trying to find more ways to. What's this?
I love the lower third.
Oh,
This is
wait,
like
back?
no, back to itemization.
Sorry.
as it should be.
Okay, So part of all of this is trying to find more ways to communicate. Different ways to communicate the what our intentions are, what our plans are. Try and check them against the views of the community. We don't want to overpromise, underdeliver. We want to make sure that we're really happy with the plans. So we're going through this. We're going to continue to try to provide as much detail as we can as we go. This isn't about kind of creating a grand reveal. That's not the point.
Right.
We want to manage expectations and also make sure that we're really, really happy with what we have, so that when we deliver to players, to be excited about it. So when we're ready to talk more about these things leading into Season 4, we're gonna make sure that we do a whole stream about these changes.
It's more about getting it right than keeping it secret.
That's
It's not about.
Yeah.
It's not about.
Exactly, and then just goes back to why we've already started talking to even just some of our Diablo partners, our content creators, a little bit about it, just to make sure that we're not working within a box where we're trying to get this right and show it to everyone. So. All right, so Q&A.
Let's see what they do.
Again, I'll do my preamble again. This is a good opportunity for people in Twitch chat to be able to drop in questions. I know chat's moving quickly, but we have our community team is actually in there. Props to Lisa Casey in there right now.
They usually answer some pretty good questions.
Questions for Q&A. I'm watching Rich. By the way, no one sees this. We have a whiteboard in here. Rich is like, oh, Midwinter Blight. This is a question that a lot of people have been asking. It ends on January 2nd.
Right.
So
January 2nd.
People who are asking in chat, Midwinter Blight goes through January 2nd, so everyone is aware of that. And then Abattoir Zir actually goes nearly to the end of the season.
That's right.
So players can check out Abattoir Zir almost all the way through the end of Season 2. Good reminders on these end dates. I will say that there's a question, before we jump into questions from chat, there was a question that we've been getting a lot online from console players, specifically related to gold trading, that I do want to actually address as well.
Oh, yeah.
And people have sent me videos, and I totally understand. It has become very, very tedious to actually trade gold. And since gold accumulation has actually grown within
Yeah.
Season 2. It's become very tedious as a console player to trade gold using the UI and the user interface within the game.
There's
Yeah,
been some
but no.
gold inflation in Season 2.
Exactly.
We know.
And I know they have to like manually
lot of
scroll
gold.
their gold, and it can be a little difficult. I will say that is being addressed, and the team is working on a fix for that. We're hoping that will be in for Season 3.
Yep.
So players on console will get a little bit more, I guess, of a relief during that specific point.
Yeah, it'd be a
for
lot
Season
easier to put in, 100 million, a billion gold, whatever you want to put it.
Exactly, exactly. So I will jump into questions here. We have Power Pig. Why is Abattoir of Zir considered a seasonal event and not normal content?
They're
Yeah,
testing it
because we want
now
it to go
to see
away
if they
at the
want
end
to
of
keep
the
it later.
That's
similar.
why. So because as I was kind of talking about a little bit earlier, but like the Abattoir of Zir is a piece of content. We're putting it out there, and we really want to see how players interact with it. We want to see what people like about it, what they don't like about it. We want to be able to take that feedback and incorporate that into more things that we do.
Yeah.
We are going to be looking for more like we say things like seasonal and evergreen. We are looking for more evergreen pieces of endgame content for players to engage with to just kind of continue to level up the base Diablo IV experience, particularly in that World Tier 4 environment. But we want to be able to do that in a way that is that is intentional, right? So
Yeah. I think you were saying earlier we want to make more content like this, but with Abattoir of Zir, this is the first of.
It's the
its
testing
kind. It's
grounds.
the first time we've done something like this.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to learn some stuff from it.
yeah, we intend to learn some stuff from it.
Question from Breezy Seashore regarding Abattoir Zir. Will we get any sigils or sigil powder from Abattoir Zir dungeons?
Abattoir of Zir runs do drop sigil at the end, but you don't get sigil drops as part of the Abattoir of Zir runs.
Perfect. All right. And then I guess this is kind of similar to a question that you guys, the first question, which is from Mr. Beefcakes Gaming, saying, are we getting some sort of variation of this mode in future seasons? Are there like more big plans related to Endgame beyond Abattoir of Zir for D4?
Yeah, I mean, in Season 3, we know that we're going to be launching the Gauntlet and the leaderboard systems and trials.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to have some endgame content there. We are looking at more content just like this.
Yeah.
And we will be releasing it as well. During the course, we're talking about some ideas potentially for Season 3. We're talking about things we want to do in Season 4. So we are working through all of that right now. But yes, you will see more content like this in the future.
Yeah, and jump into Abattoir next week and play it and tell us about it.
Yeah.
Like if you love it, then tell us, and we're going to make more of that.
Yeah.
Question from
Looks fun.
Rimas. This is where I
This
struggle.
is like a year of this.
Yeah,
Of
it's
Adam
just a
saying
year
a
of
name
these-
with an
Y'all
upward
just need to
inflection
have
at the end of
easier
the name.
Twitch names. Like mine's Pez Radar. It's like so simple. Come on,
Not
everyone.
everybody can be as clever as you with Pez Radar.
I know, so clever. I took a popular candy and mixed it in with the word radar, everyone. So Rima says, any news on a loot filter?
My wife's
Any
misbehaving in
plans
chat
for
right
that?
now, so
Things like that. This
she's
is a
going to go to
popular
timeout.
question we tend to get quite often. So
Yeah. I'm sorry. What was that?
Yeah, well, you can answer too. I think we answered. So we had a question like this at BlizzCon.
Yes.
And what I said, which continues to be true, is that we think that being able to filter your loot efficiently is a baseline part that should be part of all ARPGs, including Diablo IV. Some of the changes that we're planning coming up for itemization in Season 4, I think will help with that. We're going to look at those and look at the in the context of a loot filter as well. Like we're
Yes.
certainly not.
He said the word.
Against adding a loot filter, and it's something that we're looking at alongside
He said the word. He said loot filter.
the changes that we're making. But the changes to itemization are so significant that if we added a loot filter today, it wouldn't work after we changed them.
Yeah, there's gonna be significant changes.
So people don't take
I
that
call like
wrong.
some of the problems, the big problem
They're
we see
saying
right now in itemization.
They
largely,
can't. They're not
a lot
adding
of it
one
comes down
in
to being able to parse
right
all
now
this
without
loot
the other
and collect
changes
them.
because
And
it
then,
would
like,
just
the general
make
sense of,
life
like, some
harder
affixes are just
and not
for
work
nobody.
right in the
Like,
future.
They're not really good for anybody. Nobody really wants shrine buff duration. Nobody really wants it's not. I shouldn't say no one really wants 3 or 4 resist on an item, but like there are some people that want 3 or 4 resist on an item. We're probably not going to do a lot of that in the future. There's more things we're doing to make it just easier to parse item to item. the sorts of improvements and benefits and make it more exciting for players.
Question from It's Doffy. Are there plans for more Butcher-style bosses like Bloodseekers?
Yes.
Would love more types of these
I like that.
encounters, especially
Like having the
maybe during
Bloodseekers
world
pop in, the
bosses.
Butcher.
That'd be crazy.
That's fun.
But having like 4 Butchers spawn in the middle of a world boss, that'd be fun.
This is a different kind of world boss at that point.
Exactly.
Yes, that would
but
be
yeah,
really fun.
Any plans for like, I guess that it's that surprise type of element with
Yes,
enemies
do
that
it.
can-
Yeah, we love that the gameplay that we're getting from Bloodseekers, like dropping into dungeons occasionally. I think you see even just like the fights at the end of the Abattoir of Zero runs are already pretty fun because you don't really know what combination of affixes and Bloodseeker classes you're going to get when you kind of wrap things up. Looking for more interruption, disruptive content like that, that kind of creates these bolts of excitement. When you go into, like, a
like you don't
content
want it
piece you
all the
might already
time.
know.
If it's
I
all the
think it's really
time, if it's annoying.
Yeah,
but like
so you
having it
mentioned
happen
world
like
bosses, and
once every
I
dungeon or
was
every other
killing
dungeon
Treasure
would be fun.
Beast, last week, and when you stagger Treasure Beast, you can actually get one of those little treasure goblins that pops out. But his loot isn't very good, so we're gonna fix that. So
there we go.
Not exactly. a butcher.
Not exactly
Not even-
that,
not
but,
even remotely
but
attached to the question, but
Joe had
important.
that experience and wants to let everyone know that
Go
he's
off,
fixing
King.
that.
Look, I got 1 rawhide and 300 gold.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
A lot of people are going like Treasure Beast. What's that? That we tend to use more internal names prior to when we actually develop real names.
The world boss with the big chest full of gold.
Exactly. So ignore our internal. Hey guys.
That was his internal name.
Yeah,
or
that's,
utilize it and confuse everyone like we did.
Exactly. You guys, I know that we've gotten questions about, we still get questions. We're still getting questions because people didn't see the beginning of the stream. We do want to confirm that we did talk about and address the questions we've been seeing a lot in the community related to pay for power that have been swirling around. People talking about, are you guys planning on adding pay for power in Diablo 4? And I know that we talked about it in the beginning. We have confirmed that we are not planning on adding pay for power in Diablo 4. So I just want to reiterate that now because there's a lot of people who probably missed the beginning of the stream. I do want to just readdress that there are no plans for that.
Again, we have no plans to add pay for power to Diablo 4.
Yes, everyone who's sending me posts on X.
See, now what people are going to say
I
is,
know,
I'm never
right?
going to stop. I'm
You
never going
said-
to stop making jokes
you
about
said
this.
there's-
I
you said
love
there's
that. I
no
love it so much.
plans to add
everyone
pay
keeps
for
giving me-
power.
I'll
You
send
didn't say
posts
that you're
on
not
X,
going
we
to
get it.
do it.
We still do not. The thing is, it's still true. There's no plans to sell power in Diablo 4.
See, plans.
Yeah.
He's saying plans. People are going
Question
to hone in
related
on the word
to,
plans. Watch.
Actually, color palettes, because we've been seeing a lot of like customization and everything.
You're not
is
saying-
this is from.
I'm
Comfortably Dumb.
definitively not adding it.
When are we getting more color palettes for transmogs?
Yeah,
Also,
I
pink
like
is
it.
a color.
That's a good idea.
They want to make sure people are aware that pink is a color and they would like pink.
Yeah, yeah. That's we don't get enough feedback on this. I think that there's a lot of cool ways to customize your pigments in the wardrobe, and that there are a lot more things we could do there, both in terms of color palettes and other things that.
More transmogs.
Awesome. Skull TV asks,
Like, they
any
need to
plans
add
to rework some skills or
a number
abilities?
more every season.
Like the Necromancer could really use some movement speed or skill abilities to help out with some of their movement issues that they're having right now.
Yeah, I think Adam Jax has been on stream before. We've talked about the Necromancer specifically not having a lot of extra movement speed ability or like agility style abilities like that.
More vampiric siphon,
There's
yes.
room
So
for
fun.
making these sorts of adjustments over time. There's not an immediate plan in terms of in season 3 we're going to do X. We don't have that. But we are trying to make sure that as we continue to release new seasons, make more unique items, make more legendary powers, that we're thinking about the ways that players can use them to kind of augment and help parts of their class. We hear very frequently Sork has a really tough time dropping vulnerable on creatures, so everybody runs Frost Nova. We understand. There's things we have plans for, but addressing these kinds of concerns that players have across the board over the course of time. But we're also always looking for opportunities within itemization to also buffet these classes and give them some things, these extra support they need.
Yeah.
I'm going to take one last question here before we close it out. This is BG Fan Germany. Will we ever be able to play the campaign on a higher difficulty?
Yeah, why don't they allow that? I think that needs to be a
couple people have
thing.
asked for this. I think this is an interesting idea. The campaign is something that
I thought about this the other day.
sort of each time you
It would be
play,
fun to play it on
narrative
a
content
higher
like this,
difficulty.
you kind of get diminishing returns on how exciting it is, because some of it is based on surprise and emotional resonance, right? And some of it is like, another reason to ask this question actually could be, hey, I want to fight Endariel more times, right? And so one of the things that was cool to see with Season 2 is bringing like Duriel back, previously only part of the campaign, right? It'd be cool to do more stuff like that. But it also could be cool to play the campaign again on higher difficulties. Like, we want to have more ways for players to play the game, yeah.
And I will call this out. Davey B mentions Diablo ebooks with Joe Pipora. Reading when?
Yeah.
Joe.
Let me,
Narrator Joe Pipora.
I'll work with my agent and we'll figure out when I can start doing some voice work on the side.
There we go. Thanks, Davey.
You know
B.
what? I appreciate that people like to hear the sound of my voice as much as I like the sound of my voice. So that's
All
great.
right. Well, before we wrap up, I know, Mr. Joe Shelley, you would like to say a few words to the Diablo community as we wrap up our final stream here for 2023 for
All right,
Diablo
what you got?
4. Would you have any parting words?
Yeah, I do. Let me get my hat.
Oh,
Got this hat specifically for this.
It's been a long year.
there we go.
There
we
it
go.
is. All right. Now I feel more in the holiday spirit.
The fact that you own this hat is just very interesting to me.
But yeah, like we said at the beginning, it's been a pretty exciting year, right? Like, we went from testing the game, doing beta tests, doing open beta, I remember getting my Shava horn and wearing it on my mount everywhere. I still wear it when I show up to World Boss. So
I still wear
everyone
mine.
can know.
You got to brag. You got to be
Yeah.
like, I was part of that group, that exclusive group.
Getting my wolf pup from participating in the beta. All the changes we were able to make as a consequence of testing in the beta. Playing through the campaign, right? Getting to really have Mephisto as a huge complex character for the first time in a Diablo game. Finding out what happens with Lilith. And getting to meet all the characters along the way, right? Bringing the fish back to
Doing damage on Tuesdays.
that town in
Don't forget about
Scotland.
that.
The major beats.
Hey, this
Exactly.
look. There's one quest designer who's like, I made those.
It's a fun quest.
No, but it was really the campaign in Diablo 4. I think we're really proud of the work that we did there. It was really cool for players to experience that and share in it, and for people who pick up the game now to check it out. Of course, we launched Season 1, and we got tons of feedback on Season 1. I think we
Yeah, you
learned
did.
a lot from that.
We did.
It was a real learning experience
butts
for us.
still hurt.
Those of you who've been with us for a while, I'm sure,
People hated Season 1.
had an opportunity to give us a lot of that feedback. But one of the things that I want to point out here is that it's incredibly valuable to us to have players who are passionate about the game, because that's how we get the opportunity to make changes to it, right? Like, when you have a game that no one cares about, you just don't get any feedback about how it can be better. And one of the reasons we've been able to do all the things we've been able to do with changes in Season 2 and all the stuff we've been talking about here today and things that are upcoming for the game is because of all of your feedback. So please continue to give us feedback about all the things that you don't like in the game and all the things you like in the game. We love to hear it, really.
Can I say one thing? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you can.
So it's
Wow.
funny whenever
Totally killed his
I don't
vibe.
have a hat. I'm so sorry. This is Joe signed up. One thing, like I do get asked this quite a bit. Like, how do you deal with all of this feedback? Sometimes it's like really, really direct. And the way that I sort of think about it is, like, whenever someone sends me a message about Diablo 4, or we're reading a community post, or we're watching a video, whatever it is that we're doing, at any given time. Even when people are like angry or disappointed, like, everybody ultimately, I think there's one kind of like truism here, and that everybody wants Diablo 4 to be good.
Yeah.
They went and played the game hoping for a specific kind of experience, and they want that. So even when people are like pretty, pointed
Visceral.
in the ways they're talking about things they feel, it's because they're passionate about it.
Assholes.
So, yeah, it's just kind of undergirding your point.
Yeah. I think I can't say it enough. Blood Harvest, right? Getting to do Blood Harvest in Season 2, getting six to eight people together, overloading the zone the zone cap so you can bring 150 lures together,
Yes.
farming that, getting
Yes,
you know
that loop is so fun.
so many legendaries that you have to stash them in your stash tab and then run portal back so
Yep.
everybody doesn't leave you behind.
Yep.
Getting farm Durio, right? Linking your mats to make sure that you don't have that one person who shows up for the first couple parts of the rotation and then mysteriously vanishes without
right.
contributing. Getting to bring holiday events like Midwinter Blight. Like, we're really excited to be able to, we're all going to go away for the holidays. That's why I've got my hat here. And it's cool.
Yeah, a
that
lot of dev
when we go
teams,
away
they'll
for the
typically
holidays, we're
take
doing it,
like a couple weeks
with
off
a whole bunch of
during
awesome
holidays,
content, new
like
content
the whole studio
for folks
almost.
to play in Diablo 4. And it was cool to see some of the Steam getting nominated for a couple of awards in a couple of places, some player choice awards. I think players can still vote for that. So,
Yep.
we would love it if you're having fun, if you nominated us for that. And I think this is our first year of this. It's been a long year and an exciting year, and we're really excited for next year and for the future and for season 3 and all the stuff we're bringing there and itemization stuff coming and the expansion that we announced at
Vessel of
BlizzCon.
Hatred, yeah.
We've got so much stuff to bring to Diablo 4, and so we hope you'll join us for that.
Yeah, so thank you guys again. Thanks to the Diablo community, of course, tuning in through all these Campfire chats, all our developer update live streams, and we have a lot more planned for next year. Our next stream is actually going to be live from Albany, New York.
Abattoir Zero
Yeah,
looks
we're
good.
going to Albany. We actually we have of course locations with multiple teams.
I'm pretty
here working on
excited to
Diablo
try
4.
it
And we have a
with
studio up
my
in Albany that will be ready
Necrolancer.
for season 3 for a reveal.
Bloodlance
so we'll have a
Necro.
developer update live stream then.
It
And
looks
we're
like
looking
it's
forward
set up
to,
in a way
going live from there and
to where
checking
my
out
build
season
is
3
going
and
to
revealing
excel
more information about it next time you guys see us on
in
stream.
these dungeons.
Before we do head off,
extremely.
we want to remind people about some other Diablo activities that are also going on during the holiday season. And
What are
we
these
have
activities?
like D2R. We are bringing back the
okay.
22 Nights of Terror that was introduced last year, so players will be able to actually experience that. D3, Season 30 PTR. Notes go live tomorrow for that. So people will be able to see some of the balance changes that are coming in Season 30 for Diablo 3, and we'll have information about when that PTR is actually going to start. And of course, Dark Neos Tristram, which is a very popular event that happens every single year, will be happening for D3 again, so players can actually partake in that. And for Diablo Immortal, we have a huge update. It's actually probably our largest update since the Blood Knight, which is the
Nobody
Splinter
cares
Souls
about
update,
Diablo
which will
Immortal.
be coming on December 14th.
Nobody
So
cares.
Lots of Diablo activities
Pay to win
throughout the
garbage.
holiday. Again, thank you to the whole entire Diablo community on behalf of the Diablo dev teams here. We're looking forward to our holiday break, and we're hoping you guys enjoy your holiday break with Diablo. So thanks again. We'll see you soon.
And there we have it. So we learned about a lot of different things. The Abattoir of Ther, I think, looks pretty fun. We'll see like how it functions when we're actually in it. But if you die, it's over. If you're in a group and anybody in the group dies, it's over. They focus on scaling mob health rather than mob damage, so you don't just get insta one shot. And I'm excited to try this out because my Necrolancer build is actually focused around doing good around larger groups of mobs. So if Abattoir Ther is just larger groups of mobs that stay alive longer, that benefits me because I can keep essence up indefinitely. And the more mobs around, the more blood orbs I make, the more damage I do, the faster they all die. I think this is going to be, I don't want to say easy, but I think my build's going to hold up compared to a lot of these other builds out there, including some of these big like boss killing builds, because there's no real boss here. Except for the 3 Bloodseekers at the end, and we'll see how they do. Bloodseekers can be kind of rough sometimes, so we'll see. I got a few more things to do. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.